and I thought that was pretty cool how you did the sound and everything. You kind of understood what the scene was, how it was going on, where it was, and I really liked how they were saying the adults act like kids because everyone was that once, and they just have to do as they were if they were a child, or if they observed children, they would just act like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's a good show for all ages.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Me too.
Real quick, the two questions: how Captain Hook lost his hand, and number two, did Captain Hook at the end? There was a moment there where he was saying, "Hey, we got a good gig going here." Could you talk to that?
Yeah, I think well, that's what I go back to about the thing about these three characters that are really searching for, identity and sort of their place. One of the things for me with Black Stash is the sense of he's looking, as he says through the course of the play, his greatest adversary. The thing that's going to make him the ultimate pirate. As he says, a bona fide hero, that could be his greatest adversary. And what's wonderful is he sees that in Pan, or, in Peter, at the end of the show. And it's what I love about it is him sort of the way that they've written this, of him recognizing that he sees it, of knowing that he's his eternal foe, eternally. And he says, one of the great lines where he says, time will be our treasure. That it's not gold or anything, it's the time together. Eternal adversaries, foes forever, as he says. And that's just a great recognition of it, of sort of him stepping outside of himself there for a moment and seeing the thing, him getting what he wants, out of that. And the hand literally, is like all of them shedding a form of their old self to become something new, and Stash has that same quality, you know what I mean, of him ridding himself of this. In this case, it's a limb, but it's not necessarily an emotional baggage or whatever. It's a literal thing that launches him into the next phase of his life. Rick Ellis talks a great deal about that play also. That is a beginning. This play is the beginning, the next step towards this next chapter, which is an eternal chapter that goes on and on and on. And I love that, how that's done, and he is just as prominent a character as the two other central characters, You can't think of Peter Pan without thinking of Captain Hook. They are tied together forever. Yeah, the alligator, well, so did I, actually. And that's what's kind of neat about the spin on it, you know what I mean? How it's also comes out of his own fury and rage that something like that happens. You know what I mean? And then they end up feeding the hand to the crocodile. You know what I mean? So there's that little, yeah, without giving away too much at home. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Just briefly, when you mentioned was it the play before the play? I mean, I loved your little overture. Is that in the original production too? Because it almost reminds me
the prologue in the beginning.
Yeah, it
yes,
reminds me
is,
kind of
yeah.
how you were doing the train, and sometimes it's cut.
Right.
The train scene in going to River City.
Right. Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Sure.
And we had, this is gonna we already know it's gonna be a great play.
Yeah.
We already know this cast is together, and
well,
we're ready for the ride of a lifetime.
Yeah. The prologue is instrumental, actually, into the piece also because it sets up the storytelling component of the thing about saying, we are people, we are here together, and let's go on this journey. Imagine, if you will, that all these planks and ropes are now the British Empire, and we're going to be this, and we're going to be this, and we're going to be this, and we're going to be this. I liken it to Nicholas Nickleby and the success of that original Royal Shakespeare Company, that thing about taking this novel and going, here we are together in the theater, you, the audience, and us, the actors, and now use your imagination that when I put this hat on, I'm going to be so-and-so, or when I make this gesture, I'm going to be this person. And we have had other productions that are sort of similar with that idea of how it brings you in. 39 Steps is one of them. Greater Tuna, Stones in His Pockets, another one. It's just all about gesture to sort of switch into a new character. That element of storytelling. And this play is very much like that. It has a beginning and an end of a group coming together to start the play and a group coming together to release somebody on their next journey, you know, that is completely specific to the success of the production. And without it, I don't know how we would get there, really. You know what I mean? And that's what's great about it. And it is a prologue, you know, and it even says that in script, prologue. You know, so.
I love the parodies. I could see the Tinkers in that one little. Was it when they had 1 minute to produce to entertain the?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The
Sleeping Beauty, and that's another thing that we talked about in the design of the piece about the sort of the theater element of it, the Lost Boys having to retell this story. You know, that's the other element of Peter Pan that I always questioned before I started working on the play was, why does Peter always fly back to London? Why is it that he always goes into another window and brings someone back to Neverland? That happens eternally, on and on and on. And this play, to me, really answers that question of the moment, the touchstone in somebody's life about trying to have that feeling forever. The kiss, as it were, that he gives to Wendy in Peter Pan, which is in the makeshift of the idea of a thimble, is infused in a real kiss with Molly, about a heart of connection, meeting one another, releasing them from their past. To have faith is to have wings. The downfall to Peter Pan is that he has to forget, that he will never remember. And what I love about the way that they've structured this is this glimpse of feeling that you know is there in recollection and going back and thinking back to it, but not being able to really ultimately compartmentalize what it is. But he knows that it's that one touch that they had about going back to bring children, the spirit of life, into that feeling that will become eternal. It's beautiful in the piece to me, and it really resonates with me, and I think Rick Ellis did a fantastic job of weaving that into why, the eternal aspect of Peter Pan. And they mention that in the narration at the end of the show. It will go on and on and on, as long as children are young and free and rude and juvenile and heartless, until we fly back home. The idea of always flying back on our journey, you know.
beautiful. Thank you.
You know, I think we could all, if not most of us, all of us could go on about just how the successful elements of this show. You know, I mean, really funny jokes. You know, the unbelievable enthusiasm and energy of everybody in the cast, and the great comic timing that all of them had. That obviously was a lot of, you know, particularly Black Stash, and the ingenuity of the props, you know, creating different scenes and things. One unrelated question that I had was about the Mermaid song, which I think just about everybody really enjoyed. It was funny, and the costumes were really clever. Again, I've read the book,
Right.
and I was curious. I mean, because this is the material. It's not. There's not a lot you can do with it, I don't think. I was curious if people watching the show thought maybe for many seconds, that the pirates had been turned into mermaids.
Right.
Right. I mean, it is in the body of the song, kind of midway, and it's talked about later. Was there any concern that would be confusing, or was that part of the fun to be momentarily confused?
Yeah, I think that there is an element to that question that one wonders about that. And obviously, in the lyrics, they say we were fish that were once fish and swam through this, and now we're mermaids. It is a tricky thing also in the book, Peter and the Starcatchers, the whole mermaids in that play. They play a very significant part to that book that I think they have streamlined in the theatrical production of it to sort of make it about how we have mermaids on the island of Neverland, how they came about and how they're connected to Peter, which is very prominent in both Peter Pan and Peter and the Starcatchers. So I think they took a more whimsical approach to the idea and made it more about Molly, also the Molly boy journey in the play, made that the central thematic push of the production. So there is an element to that at first that you think, oh, the pirates did become mermaids, and then hopefully the song sort of washes over you, that you go, oh no, wait, okay, they're representing the idea that the mermaids, and then later you get that when you see Peter ultimately who meets Teacher, where he gets bestowed his family name onto him, about the island and the sort of what that is, the pan, the all, everything encompassing. that then I think it sort of hopefully sinks in a little bit. But I hope it's not too confusing, I guess, is the answer to the question. It should be fun and whimsical and kind of, I can see where one person might go, oh, are they pirates? And then if you listen to the lyrics, you kind of know where they're going with it. But
I wanted to make 2 comments. One is that I love the way that out of the Lost Boys, Peter emerges. Because which one's going to be Peter?
right.
We don't have the names, and they're all talking about leader and who's the leader, and that all goes through.
Yeah.
The other thing that I really loved is when the play starts and all the way through, it's as if they're making it up for the first time. It's as if they never had any rehearsal. This is, we are there for the first moment of the story emerging from the characters.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's that's fantastic. That's exactly what it should feel like, that it's unfolding in front of your eyes for the very first time. Yeah, absolutely. And the whole leader thing, I think, is an interesting theme in the play. They talk about what is an ideal leader. There's a tremendous message in that about what Molly says is about doing something for someone else. It's not self-driven. Prentice is like, I'm the leader, we have to follow me. And it's for all the wrong reasons, basically. And that's the thing that Molly infuses into the boy. It's about saving someone else's, of yearning for compassion for your fellow man or woman. That's the stuff that I think is really wonderful. And what I also think is great about how Peter, in the midst of all this stuff, the adventure that happens, it just naturally falls in for him, and all of that is Molly sort of leading him down the right path, We talked a great deal about the star stuff and this thing about it makes you what you want to be, but that's just a metaphor for what is really there already, you know what I mean? And it's just unleashing that in the person, giving them that thing about you have this and embodying that. And it's an interesting thread in that about how the idea of leading and then, of course, Peter rising from the 3 of them, that he really embodies that. Prentice saying, I want to be a lawyer at the end is kind of funny. You get where that's coming from as far as where his mind works in the play. Wonderful, little nods to each character development.
I thought it was really great to see how that develops, how he develops, because in the Peter Pan movie, all those questions, it was beautiful. And timing is everything. And even in our real life experiences, timing is everything. This had so much meaning in my own life, as probably each of us. I knew a boy. He was a boy until he was 57 years old.
Of course, yeah.
And he still, but this unfolds, and I love how I love how, this, just like even the cat scene where the nurturing, when a little girl, they love to nurture, and that, seeing that develop, she, the cat, she picks it up. And it was hilarious too, but yet it brought that nurturing in for a little girl, and to see her nurture and to see that
definitely
into what she really became,
and
how she.
Well, there's a great. I know that one of the many moments that stand out. The first moment that she sees the boy. The boy says he has an air about him. There's something about the connection that the 2 of them feel. But the thing about Peter is that what I've loved that they've done is that he really is a broken down, beaten orphan boy who has nothing, has no trust, has trust issues, doesn't believe anybody around him. All he says is grown-ups lie. They lie and then they leave. That notion about he can't put his faith in anything until he meets this girl who says the faith is in yourself. You know what I mean? About opening up your idea. And it's just beautiful. That's so simple that I think all of us have felt at some point in your childhood about crossing over, that moment of crossing over into your adolescence. Happens in this play. We see that moment where Molly goes into this thing where she even says it, be a woman. She says to him before she says goodbye. She says, be a woman. That she has there crossed over, and he even says it. You sound different already, is what he says, and it's really moving. I mean, it's really heartfelt and wonderful. But the idea that she is the thing that took him from this nothing into everything. You know, that's what she says at the end. Pan, all, everything. The birds, the trees, everything around you, the boys, especially the boys. She is the one that gives him that. She does it. This little girl, you know. It's awesome.
So this is more probably a comment than a question, but it ties into things that have been asked and commented on just now. You said earlier, and you gave the nod very appropriately to the ensemble for contributing to everything that we saw. But very much like the ensemble and the hidden message within the show, were it not for you, Brian, having the elements of the leader, it could not have been the show that we saw and experienced. So thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks. I very much feel I'm one of them in many ways, you know, just because I know what it's like, and every time I watch it, I'm like, it's what a thrill to be in, it would seem, you know what I mean? And to be on the outside of it is especially gratifying and gut-wrenching. But it's just an awesome piece, you know. I love it so much that it's been really cool to be part of, so thanks, I appreciate that.
So just two things related to what she just said, the lady in front there, is that Molly, even though she was 13, the boys already considered her the mother. For some reason, they saw her as the old lady the whole time.
Right.
Well, I mean,
yeah, no, of course.
They saw her much older than she actually was.
Totally, the nurturer,
right,
absolutely, the mother
right.
to
Just
the
like
boys.
She was saying, the 57-year-old boy, she was always the 13-year-old mother the whole time.
Yeah.
The other thing that really shocked me is when Peter leaps at Stash, falls on his face, and Stash grabs him by the ankle.
Right.
And it gives you that feeling that right now it could really just all be over.
Yeah.
Because he has Peter in his hand. And,
yeah.
And it's done.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see that.
Well, it's what's kind of cool about that, you know, and even in Peter Pan, Peter is always put to the brink of danger. You know, he's pushed to and it even says in the novel, to die would be an awfully big adventure, he says in Peter Pan, the book. That he's pushed right to the brink of that, you know, and somehow it pushes him to the next, you know, phase of life. You know, he always escapes, basically. And I love that in this, he launches in before thinking, really, you know what I mean? And then gets caught in the crux of a moment where it is life and death for that big moment. And if he weren't pushed to there, I don't think it would be as powerful, because that's ultimately the very human factor about Peter Pan. Is he himself is put in jeopardy or put in a sense of peril or extreme circumstance, and then finds his way to move forward, you know. That's a total metaphor for his life there, you know what I mean, about coming to conflict, stepping out of it, having faith to have wings, you know what I mean, that very idea. And it's cool they put that in there, yeah, definitely. And it is a sense of danger. I mean, it should have a sense of danger. Stash says, I will cut you. I will slit you up and down. You watch your guts flop on the deck, you know. And he does it extravagantly, but at the same time, he's mercurial and would probably do it if he didn't get what he wanted, you know. Yeah.
Yes, final comment? I just can't imagine what it was like on stage when they first put on those mermaid costumes.
Well, let me tell you this. I'll tell you, this is a great example, okay? In every fitting, I would get Kevin Copenhaver, he would send me photos of them in their initial fitting, and every single one of those guys, you know, these guys are like, hey, what's going on? They're in their fitting, and they're all, like, beveling. They're all, like, tilting their leg, and their hip is cocked. I was like, what's going on with you guys, man? I love it. I love it so much. And they're embracing their mermaid. Yeah. We call the boylesque in our show. That's what we call that moment.
One other comment. It was really disconcerting last night in the Adams stage with the concert going.
Yes, it was. I was there. Yes.
Can't you get some consideration from the city or turn the mics the other way?
Yes, there will definitely be probably a very interesting city council meeting, I'm sure, at some point. Yeah, it took us all for surprise. You know, obviously we want to be supportive of our community projects and so forth, and it's just about working together. And I think it was just a matter of the time it fell on, the proximity of where it's happening. So all that stuff will be in future discussion for future, because it was very distracting. I had a similar reaction, believe me.
I thought the pacing made the play really unique, and the staging. Short of a football playbook, how did you achieve that?
You know what? There was a lot of football playbook going on. I'm not kidding. Like, I would sit down with Caitlin, my assistant director, who's actually in the back there, who was tremendous help, having another eye on it, as well as Rhett Gooder, who was our choreographer. And, you know, Rhett has sort of double duty going on, which is already challenging, bouncing back and forth between being the central character in the play and then also the choreographer. But we were constantly taking our floor plan, you know, and writing X marks here and little arrows. Okay, if they go this direction, where does this mean with this? The whole thing was charted out and diagrammed, especially in the shipwreck scene, about the idea of, you know, using the ropes to sort of help indicate that stuff. Oh yeah, it was a very big playbook, very big. And it was really the only way to do it because there's 12 people there the entire time. And so exciting to work on, you know. Definitely not a drawing room comedy, you know what I mean?
Nancy, I have the microphone, so I'm going to hand it to you, but I'm just
Okay.
going to say I loved the comment about Ayn Rand. And was that written into
Yeah.
the original, or
Oh,
did
yeah.
you add that?
Oh yeah, no, it's all the lines in the play are straight from the show. Ayn Rand, yeah, there's many of those great literary, you know, these great spins, contemporary references also, that are just sort of part of the, I think, the fun of the piece in many ways, the anachronistic sort of current event thing in the play that I love that they've done. They've made it now. It's now, you know. But Ayn Rand is one of them, and Starbucks, and yeah, milkshake, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many of them. No man is an archipelago, you know. Like, it's like there's just great lines, great wit in Rick Ellis and putting all that in.
Well, I have to make a slight confession, and Brian already knows this. I saw the Broadway production after hearing much accolades foisted on New York Theater Workshop's production, Peter and the Starcatcher, which I did not see. But we were in New York the night before the Broadway production closed. So I got the sense that in the audience there were a lot of very close friends of the actors on stage, and some of the people in the audience were in their cups and having a jolly good time from the audience, yucking up at every single line that was spoken by anyone on stage. And at intermission, I had no idea what was going on, none. And there was a child behind me that I heard him say to the adult, "What is everybody laughing at? I can't understand a thing that's going on stage." And I wanted to turn to the child and say, "When you figure it out, will you tell me? Because I have no idea." Knowing that this company was doing it, I thought, oh my goodness, it can be a very long season if what I see on Broadway is what's going to happen here. So the second act happened. It got worse. I still couldn't figure it out. And anyway, when I knew that Brian Vaughn was directing it, when I saw the cast list, and I came to the meetings here in February, and I could feel the passion and the intensity that Brian felt for this story. And when he gave his concept, when he spoke about it, as you can feel today, I think, his understanding, his intelligence of the piece, but his heart is in it. And when I saw it Monday at the first, or Tuesday, seems so long ago now, the first preview, I was absolutely thrilled. And then I saw it yesterday, and I get to see it every single performance for the rest of the season. And if there is a seat available, you can bet I will be there. So thank you, Brian Vaughn, for this incredible gift to the festival.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we've come to the end of this
2 hours. And in the brochure, if some of you noted, there it did say there was an actor's seminar today. That is a misprint. We will start the actor seminars next week. And so there's not an actor seminar today. Sorry, you got to see and hear from an actor, though, and a director. So I hope you won't be too disappointed. We will be back tomorrow to talk about King John. Director Robin Rodriguez will be with us at 9 a.m. At 10, Brad Carroll will be with us to talk about Anything Goes. Thank you so much for being here. It's been my pleasure to be with all of you and learn so much.
Yeah, absolutely. That's okay. Oh, cool. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, cool. Very good.
Yeah. Is there anything I can do to be more involved in the company?
I think. Yeah, I mean, just send me an email.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Also, I like how I am not.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know, right?
And then like when she breaks, it's like.
Yeah.